classes for emotional intelligence. So I am a mortgage broker, real estate broker, and also I had experience in business and as a business coach. So, and as a business coach, that's why I feel like it's such an important. I have some important tools that I think that will help us in this real estate industry. So that's what today the class is about. And oh, because I didn't plug it in. Let me turn it on. Okay. So to we all get stressed, especially in this industry. There's all different kind of stress, right? So there's acute stress, which is what we call the short-term to long-term or chronic stress. So that means um, I have phone call keeps coming in, incoming calls and one call after another, or I'm 45 minutes late to work, and then as I come in, the boss or someone is asking me for if your project is done, or you have a viral seller that hey, you late for showing. So all these are acute stress, but those are temporarily, supposedly, that it usually ends at the end of the day. But if you have it every day, then that you should look into maybe time management or some other type of how to make that a change in your life. But there's also a big stressor like money trouble, job status, job issue, relationship conflict, and other life changing big stress. So how do we so what are the stress triggers? So it comes from their thoughts, images, feelings, touch, sight, and sound. So those are the stress trigger. And when that stress comes, and that's why we have this handout. When that stress, and then you have some of the negative and positive beliefs. So how do you stay when that comes? Do you have what kind of negative thoughts that you have? So you say that, do you really think that, oh, I'm worthless, or I'm terrible, I'm a bad person, that I didn't make the project on time, that I didn't do a good job? And do you stay in that mode, or and how do you get out of that stress in that feeling? So, and then when that happens, that we start being defensive. And when we have stress, because stress actually comes from fear. Fear is things that say that I didn't meet my goals, I didn't finish the project, and then then that's a fear of itself. And then when that fear is actually associated with you because you didn't complete your goal, and that actually is your ego. And your ego is actually not something to do with other people. So you don't want to project taking your stress out on the other people. So it's important to realize, okay, what exactly am I stressed about? The root cause of it, not all these things that the trigger like the phone, the someone's voice, or the boss coming down on you, or the traffic. So all these things is the trigger. But what exactly beneath that, what is that your fear about, and what kind of and then when you have that stress, and how when you then most people have they become irritable, they become taking on people, like I said earlier. So how do we identify those what we call a defense mechanism? So if I can have, because there's 7. Okay. So you can start with you and then just read it out, see if this is something that you experience. Okay.
Where am I reading?
Right there.
Denial. I don't know what you are talking about. I provide great customer service.
Have you said that before?
Yes. Have I said that?
Mm-hmm. Is that a language that you have said that before?
I don't. I think I've
to some client?
Maybe. I maybe have, yeah. I'll
Right?
admit it. Yes, I have.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I have. Okay.
So think about that for now.
Okay.
And then Nancy.
Indifference, passive aggressive, sure, whatever you say.
Is that when you don't,
Mhm.
when the customer just, bother you so much, and then you don't agree with what they say, but to a point where you just like, okay, I don't really care, whatever.
I've never seen it.
Okay, that's fine. I
haven't
mean,
either. And I don't think I've said that to like a client. I think I've said that.
but you said it to yourself, right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
things that you said to
You're
yourself
talking, yeah,
in your,
you do.
and how you deal with,
Because
how you deal with the stress.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I've had people I feel like who didn't appreciate my services, and I'm saying to myself, I know I'm doing a good job. You know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
And Daisy.
Minimization, deflection
Uh-huh.
is not really that bad.
Right. Some people like the customer
Trying
really
to
picky.
minimize something. It's
Because
not
you
really-
cannot please everybody. So
Mhm.
sometimes, you do your best, and then if they're not happy, they're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
So just move on to the next.
And I forgot your name. Uh-huh.
Is the minimization or justification? Everyone does it.
Yeah, everyone does it, right? So I'm
It's okay to do.
It's
So,
right.
yeah.
And the next one, Stacy. Uh-huh.
Rejection. It's not my fault. It's Jim's.
That's a lot. I mean, I would say that I do that too, right? So because we feel like, okay, we did a good job, or we don't want to, we have our ego and say, oh, well, it's
Blame
not
somebody else.
right. Daisha,
Self-pity, I can never do anything correctly.
some people. Daniel.
Strong emotions, anger, tears. This is not fair.
So I know some people. So out of all these 7 defense mechanism, that we all can have one of them at one time, or many of them. So you can switch out. So you may have the main one, but it doesn't. But you can, because of this could be a childhood trauma or things that you go through. That's your go-to. But it can all in different situations that there are different defense mechanisms that can show up for you. So use the deflection. So do you guys have one?
Let's see. I may be that one as well. Yeah, probably.
Really not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah. That's probably me too.
What
So
about
I had an incident yesterday with passive aggressive. I had a client, he's looking for office space, and he asked me to check out this one space that he wanted. And I was like, well, knowing what your budget is and the size of office space that you want, the smallest size they have is 800 square feet. And he was like, I just want to know what the terms are. Just can you please just get it? And so I did it. Sure, whatever you say. And sure enough, it was way out of his budget. And like I said, they didn't have anything that was in the parameters that he wanted. And then I told him that, and he texted me back and was like, yeah, that's out of my budget. And I was like, that's what I told you from the start. And I still did it. And I was like, okay.
right? So does that add stress to you?
Yeah, because I'm like,
Right?
frustrated. I hated to have to even do it knowing that it wasn't going to be within his budget, but I was like, sure, whatever you say.
Yeah.
So we all have to deal with some kind of, and then, so now we talk about what is emotional intelligence to help mitigate all the stress and all the defense mechanism that will show up, and not to take it out on other people. So is most importantly, you got to start off with awareness of yourself. It's definitely self-awareness. That is why you identify what, don't just go through it, go through the stress, but take a minute, think about what really going on with why am I getting stressed, and what is that I'm doing this out of, what action am I having, and thoughts on, and about if you can categorize those defense mechanisms. Hey, I'm deflecting. Hey, I am doing minimization, or I'm angry. I have strong emotions. And when you stop and think about that, and then later on, I'll talk about how we can get out of it, because that's the thing, that you don't want to stay in that mode. And when you stay in that mode too long, people get depressed, people get depression, and then you continue, they can get out of it. So that's, and when you are not good yourself, you actually affect people around you. And that's what we call the emotional intelligence, and start with self-awareness, and then we'll do self-regulation. Means that we're gonna talk about how we're gonna regulate ourselves. Because once you learn that, and when you work in the team and as a realtor, you are the center of everything. You talk to the appraiser, you talk to the inspector, you talk to the lender, you talk to the listing agent and the buyer. So you are the team leader of everybody, even though you're not per se in the real estate team. But in the real estate team, of course, that also as well. But in the transaction, you are that leader of that transaction. So, and how are you aware of yourself? You know, when you have those strong emotion, and how you're aware of other people. When buyers, seller, they get angry, they like whatever you say, you know, something you said that they didn't like, right? And then, so how do you not,
Go
you know,
off on people.
right? How do you
Because I got
regulate?
an email this morning, first thing in the morning, from the agent. So I'm representing the buyer, and I sent him yesterday our list of requests of repairs. And so I can tell when people are dealing in their emotions, which I try not to, because this, you know, it's not about me, it's about my client. But he was offended because I'm just showing him what the inspector found, and he said some very disrespectful, crazy things. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna touch this right now. I'm gonna go to Judy's class. I said, I'm not gonna touch this right, because I wanted to actually kind of go off, but I'm working on myself. That's why I'm in this class.
Right. So that's what it is, that you take a minute to think about yourself.
Because I'm going to get back to him, but I'm going to stay professional. Because, he was very disrespectful. And
So
I don't like people who deal in emotion with business. This is business. Like, we can overcome anything, in my opinion. So,
just I had a buyer just recently.
Just crazy.
So she needed extra days for her loan to go through. And so she said she needs the extension on the approval, on the lender's, the financing approval, and also extending the closing date another week. And then I said, why do you need that? She said, well, because I just need to, because our inspection took too long. But the inspection ended on the option day. We ended on the day that we say it was, and then it didn't change. Then it didn't need. It still have 2 weeks to close to your closing. So I was like, what is really going? She just couldn't tell. She just say that the inspection took too long. Are you gonna do it or not? Extension on the financing approval.
Gotcha.
And then I said, was something wrong with the loan? I said, no, nothing wrong with the loan. And are you gonna do it or not? So she didn't like me asking her. As the lender myself, I know at this point you already passed inspection. Anything left is something wrong with the loan, but she wouldn't tell me. And so I said, okay, you know, as a realtor, I was her realtor. I said, okay, then I go and request it. But as a listing agent, the experienced listing agent, they're gonna know it's something wrong with the loan at this point. So she came and asked me, and she wouldn't have her seller sign it. And so it took like over the weekend, and then 2-3 days later, and till the day of original financing approval ended. And finally, I get it out of her. She said, oh, something with the tax that, you know, the seller didn't file for the tax. The tax is over. It's more than the tax value, appraisal value is more than the actual appraisal approval report value. And I say, okay, now I can fight for you. I know what is going on, that the seller didn't protest the tax, so now the tax is higher. But in that language, I know she has a DTI issue now. I originally thought that I knew that's what it was, but she wouldn't tell. She just said, oh, nothing wrong with the loan. I mean, so, and then, but the seller works in the hospital, so they didn't get to sign until maybe 8 p.m. And it ends at 11:59. So at 8, so like 6, 7 p.m., she said, you failed me. This should have done last week. Why didn't you? She like, okay, you failed me.
I can't see.
You failed me. I said, I didn't have the information. You didn't give me information
always
for
our
me
fault.
to go back to the seller, have them sign a proper explanation. But so things like that, it's like, that's where we need to come here.
That's why I'm in this class.
And then really understanding, okay, what is stressing me out? She clearly said that I feel her. So yes, so I feel if I actually feel
It's
her,
pretty strong
right?
words.
I wonder why was she reluctant to tell you that?
Because
That's
what
her
about- I'm
pride.
sure you
That's
did
her
a-
ego.
What about everything else you've been doing right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, people kind of just say stuff.
And for her, it was she was protecting herself. She didn't want to explain everything to me.
But we always know when something's going on. You can't really.
Right?
I'm so used to people lying.
As an experienced realtor, at which stage that certain things is gonna happen.
Mhm.
When things doesn't happen, there's something's
Something's going on.
right. So that's what emotional intelligence about is to. So I said, I only say once. I said, well, because you didn't give me the information ahead of time, and then so I wasn't able to represent you fully if I didn't get the full picture. So I didn't want to go off on her. What do you mean? I failed. I didn't want to.
I can't see you doing that.
But how do you? Not only we don't go off on her, but how do I regulate myself, calm myself
You
down?
have to. No, you
Right?
do.
Because it affects my
You
health.
have to.
Affect my health, and then I'll feel like, okay, I don't want to do anything else. That I just want to soak in my whatever feeling I had. Right.
You
Right.
do. You have to take a step back. I always do.
So now that's what, and some of you, we talked about DISC, right? So this is, it's a behavior assessment where we talk about what's your dominant behavior style. So I won't go over that in detail, but when it's high D, I just want to go over the fear part of it. Because earlier we talked about when we feel stressed, when we feel, it's because we have fear. We don't feel good about ourselves. And what's our fear? So for high D, it's loss of control and being taken advantage of, and being a fear of being vulnerable. Because I can say I'm a high D, and then I do feel like, okay, I don't want to feel vulnerable. Feel like, okay, I'm not doing my job. I'm not doing so I don't, that's my fear when I have the defense, being defensive. And on high I, because high I person is sociable person, and so they feel social rejection, disapproval, loss of influence, and being ignored.
Don't ignore me, please. I'm a high I.
Yes.
High.
So I know I don't remember which one you all are, but a lot of realtors have higher I. So if you feel like, okay, that might be my fear, so you might be high I. So you want people to invite you on different events, and you don't want to lose out FOMO, right? And you want to be able to influence people and in different ways. So you don't want to be ignored. And then that's when you feel ignored, and then you go into the different type of defensive style that you have. And high S, and because the high S is stabilizer. So people are high S that they don't like lose the stability, and they don't like change, and don't like lose of harmony or offend the other. They don't like confrontation. So, and they don't like changes, life changing or change of schedule, change of process, change of procedure. And then they have that fear that something is it's not stable. And then it stress them out. And high C is people who are detailed, who want to do everything right the first time. And so they don't like people criticize them. They don't like say, oh, you didn't do it right the first time, or you know, this is wrong. It's hard for them to come back from that. Because for other style people, they like, okay, so I'll do better next time. Or they just brush it. It may not brush it off. They can come back from it, think about it, and then do better next time. But high C will get soaked in people tell them, hey, you didn't do it. If I were the high C and my client tell me, hey, I failed, it would be really hard for me to come back because she feel like I would feel like I didn't do something right. And so they don't like being wrong. So that gives them fear, and fear gives them stress. So what we call the Johari window of self-awareness, part of it is there's a 4 quadrant in this. The first quadrant is the arena where it says, I know, you know. Means now I say I'm a high D, he say he's a high I, and now we know each other, how we are. And so we know how to work with each other. And there is also the next quadrant is mask, means I know about myself, but I don't want other people to know. And the blind spot is I don't know about myself, but other people can see clearly, but I don't know about it myself. We all have blind spots. And also there's unknown words, I don't know, you don't know. So how do we increase? Because when we're in the arena of I know and you know, then we better have better communication. And then things will work out better that he can see that I'm stressed. He can understand, okay, I'm stressed because I don't like lose control. And if something that's out of norm, out of things that's happening, he can see, okay, I get stressed about that. And I can see that he doesn't like being ignored. Then I want to maybe go out of my way sometime to invite him or to talk to him. So there's a different, or if I see that he's stressed, then I don't want to take it personally because I understand that's how he is. So, and that is why that on the self-awareness that we want to increase the arena where I know and you know. And that's why the DISC profile will help us. That's one of the ways to help us, but also, is you just have to take the time to understand yourself in a different way. And so when we are stressed, and then we, like I said earlier, there are different defense mechanisms. And then we also, what we call drama triangle. The first one, we can be a victim. Poor me, I'm helpless, I'm not okay. And everyone else is. We see that a lot. And we feel powerless, we helpless, we whine. So we could be that. And the next one is prosecutor. We blame other people. We want to be right, and we blame other people, you're wrong. So it could happen in the workspace, it could happen in your personal space, in your personal relationship as well. And so, and then they want to win as a prosecutor. And there's also rescuer. Rescuer is, well, as a caretaker, I want to help you fix everything, that you're not okay, and then we can all be in any of this in any stage and can change as well. So that sometimes we can be a victim, sometimes we can be prosecutor, and sometimes we can be rescuer. So, and as I was owning a business, a scrap metal business before, when I have lots of employees, and it happened all the time that I will say, because some things that as a boss, we have our pride and we say, oh, well, it's not my fault, it's your fault. So we kind of, we blame on the another person. And rescuer also that, you know, I don't know about you, but sometimes we can be enabler to certain people and not setting boundaries to our children, to our spouse, to our coworker, colleagues, because you don't want to see the deal fall through. And then you will be the rescuer, want to be there trying to pick up the pieces. So have you guys have any situation like this before? Where you feel
I
like,
say with the rescuer, yeah,
so that's your main.
yeah.
So Stacy, what about you?
Yeah, I was in a relationship.
I'm sorry. You're a rescuer, so you will want to help people, try to get them. Okay. In yeah. In
Yeah, I'm the person like that because, you know, as a mother,
uh-huh.
you always protect the kids. And
Mhm.
nowadays, the young kids, like teenagers, they all have anxiety.
Yeah.
And, you know, they talk out to themselves and they want to become a victim and, you know, so you just try to understand them. Sometimes it's hard. That's why it's really hard
Mhm.
with that too,
Yeah.
you know.
So you identify what they are, right? Because a lot of time we don't know what to do because we don't know how to articulate it. But now with this, you start thinking, okay, and you start with yourself, right? So am I victim, prosecutor, or rescuer, first of all? Because all this, when you're a rescuer, you like to rescue victim. And when you're prosecutor, you like to blame other people. Can be the rescuer, can be the victim. And victim feel like, okay, why is everybody against me? So, you know, you could be at any of this anytime, or vice versa. Other person can, but how do we so like I said earlier, we're all roles based on our childhood. One can be a primary, and the anxiety that we have in us, and things that if we focus on the problem, and that's what we create anxiety. And but how do we empower to get out of those mode? Is for as a victim, we have to focus on the vision and the decision of the outcomes, so that you don't want to only think about, okay, the circumstances, but how can I get out of the circumstances and get to a result? What's the result that I want? And so that I get there, so that you can work baby step to get there. And as a prosecutor, how do I get out of the prosecutor so that I can, instead of blaming other people, and I can help other people, hold them accountable? What do they need to do? Really help, you know, it says sparks learning by challenging assumptions and status quo. Focus on improvement and development by holding people accountable. Means that how do you challenge this person to hold themselves accountable instead of say, hey, this is your fault. Ask them, what do you need to do to not be in this situation? And rescuer, how do we not to be a rescuer is we need to coach people. Instead of us trying to do it, we ask questions. How can I care about you? But then how you can do it. You can solve this problem yourself. Instead of us trying to step in all the time, we give them the chance to actually solve their problem. So that's how, so in between, so we want to become coach, creator, thriver, and challenger. So what we focus on in ourselves is what our behavior comes out. So do we focus on problems, or do we focus on problem solving? And how to, and not just us stepping in to solve the problem, but how to coach this other person and hold them accountable, ask questions, and empower them to do what they need to do. And so when you are focused on problem, anxiety, and you react, and then people's reaction is, I think you probably heard of this too: fight, flight, and or freeze, right? Some people just keep arguing with you, and some people would just say, I don't want to deal with it, and they just go away. And some people just, they don't know what to do. He's like, okay, what's your reaction? You have no one to fight about, but it's still a problem. So those are the victim, that's their mindset, victim mindset. This is how they are. But when you go into a creator, means you do baby step, that you're a problem solver, you want to think about that vision, and you will talk about that vision with the victim, with the other person, that say that the customer, that they are stressed out about buying this house, but you want to talk to them about, well, because I had an example where I had a client where I've worked with her, show her houses every weekend, and so she feel like she cannot afford, she's a single person, she have this fixed income, she cannot afford the house is so expensive, although she qualifies, but she still feel like, oh, the mortgage is so high. So we look, and she just wouldn't make an offer until next year. So she signed the renew the lease, and then next year we look again, and we a little better, we made an offer. But she said, why did you keep pushing me? Why did you keep pushing me to do this? I don't want to do this. And then she terminated before we even get started. So then I had to keep talking to her about, do you want this house? What is going to happen when you own this house? What is difference, between owning, the situation you had going on with your rental? And so it's a baby step, how to help them with that, instead of they get stressed out and blaming you, which she was doing the prosecutor. So how do I get her out of that? Is to help her with the vision, how to help her, talking to her what the result of it, because they only see the stress part of it.
Yeah. I dislike. I thank God I haven't had any clients like that lately. They've been good.
So those are that you see, as because I went through so many house, showing with her, and I see, I pay attention to her pattern, to how she thinks, right? So you kind of know, okay, this is her.
Exactly.
What's her fear? That's why earlier I said DISC. Her fear is that stabilizing.
Yeah.
That she doesn't like changes. She doesn't want something that's not stable. So how do you get her out of that? Because it's nothing to do with me.
Exactly.
We have to think about that. That's what it's about. That how we cannot control other people. We can only control what we can control. So we can only control our thoughts. And the thoughts, our action comes from our thoughts. That is why we want to pay attention and being attention to how we feel, how we behave, and then intentionally, and that's how the result comes out, instead of soak in problems. So the empowerment mindset is, I'm a creator. What's a learning opportunity? How am I contributing to this dynamic? What's my intention in this interaction? And how can I be proactive towards my visions? So all these are the things that we want to think about when we feel stressed, when we feel in a situation. And then it's a mindset, right? You want to stuck in that negative mindset, which is the list of the negative here. I'm not lovable. For high I, if they get ignored, they feel like I'm not lovable. But still, that the positive beliefs is, I am lovable, even though this person didn't invite me to this function, but I have other people, they are inviting me. So you just want to get out, switch that, right? So, and then, or the next one, I'm not good enough. It's not that I am not good enough to didn't get her the extension that she needed at the time she wanted it. I am deserving because I have other clients that I've served
Exactly.
that they love me.
Exactly.
So you just want to have that different thoughts. So, but it's a practice. It's a practice that we have to keep doing. That's why I think this
Yeah.
will help you guys.
Mhm.
That if you guys, feel stressed, bring this out, and then give yourself that positive belief and positive affirmation. So the communication to avoid is you statement, being, criticizing other people, blaming, deflating, freezing, excuses, or being right. And a lot of times, when you deal with other agents, we can be like that too sometimes, because we feel like, okay, I'm doing this for my client, or I don't want to you say that I did something wrong, so I have to prove that I'm right. So we say this
Yeah.
a lot, right?
I can, but I can tell right off when I call another agent if they're combative.
Yes.
I'm like, okay,
And then
here
you
we
can
go.
understand, okay, they are in their defensive mode.
Very ego driven. I'm like, here we go.
Then how do you combat that?
I normally, because I'm old school, I normally, they say you get more with honey. And normally by the end of the conversation, they've kind of fixed their attitude.
Uh-huh.
And then they know I know what I'm doing. I kind of I can just spin it. I already know what I'm dealing with, somebody who's ego and
Uh-huh.
arrogant. And I normally can convert them by being super sweet. And I
Right.
just ignore it. I don't even really feed into it.
Exactly. It's not about you.
It's never about me.
It's not about you.
No.
Right?
People get
So
emotional. They got to be right. I'm like, I just want to help my people so I
Uh-huh.
can get paid and they can be happy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right. So because some people, so you're very good at doing that. And some people that they feel, oh, this agent is so hostile towards me, that they get hostile
They
back.
get sucked into it. No, I don't do
Right?
that.
They get so back and forth that nothing is getting done. So those are the things that we want to, even though you may think so, but it's how do we change that thoughts in the language? So what we should say, hey, I feel this way. And you want to start with feeling and then start with I. So I feel this way. And then people feel more vulnerable. When you start being vulnerable, and then other people will lower their defensive wall. And so it start getting easier to communicate. So spark unargumentable truth, express your own responsibility, practice active listening, practice self-awareness and self-regulation, and say your intention. So, the truth is, I feel this way, but the truth is, da 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 da, because nobody can argue with the truth.
Mhm.
And then sometimes we may be wrong too. Say, I probably did
Mhm.
this way. I apologize, and then you listen to what they have to say, and then the result, right? The result is like you said, we want to close, we want
Yeah.
to,
Closing data.
I
Right?
learned to listen too more. I think that's something I've gotten better at over the years. I listen,
mm-hmm,
especially if somebody's being real, kind of just wanting to vent. I let
mm-hmm,
them talk. I'll just be kind of.
mm-hmm,
I just listen and be quiet.
Well,
right?
I got 15 minutes.
Yep. Sometimes I let 'em listen.
I'll be your therapy for 15
Yeah,
minutes.
I do. Sometimes I
5
just shut
minutes.
up.
You can
Listen.
talk all you want, but I got 5 minutes.
Exactly. We got 'em on a time schedule.
Actually, when you let people talk and
Yeah.
you listen, and
Uh-huh.
after that, and your turn, you talk, they listen.
They do.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
So, and then that help to bring your stress down,
Uh-huh.
and then
That's
bring
why I
their
do
stress
it,
down,
so I can just.
right? So, and that concludes the presentation we had today. So, I mean, there's a lot of information. So I feel like there's, if any of you want to go over, I think that it's important on thinking about, okay, is this, am I, or this, think about yourself first. I think the most important thing is that it's regulate ourselves. We got to regulate ourselves, being self-awareness of how we are, how we act, how we react when we have stress, and what are the stress trigger. And then when you start there, and then you think about, how can I coach other people? How can I get out of my victim mode? How can I get out blaming other people? Because we do that a lot, and sometimes we don't even know, myself included,
We do. We get to talking and just
right?
venting to our partner.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, but how do you then, when you start aware more and more and more, and then you know how to not get out of quickly, and that's what it's about. That's why you increase the EQ, the emotional intelligence. So
This
yeah,
was good. Thank you.
you like it? Yes.
Any
It's a good
questions?
topic.
This
Yeah.
is a very good topic because